Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome along the Talking Brazil Ball, the podcast all about Brazilian football. I'm James, I'm your host, and I'm here to discuss all things Brazilian football, the latest round of the Brasileirão. I'm here with my co-host, George. George, as you can tell, I've had a busy day today. I'm looking forward to settling down and getting into some Brazilian football. How are you doing?
Yeah, it seemed a bit tongue-tied, James, perhaps, but come avides, everybody listening, watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. Yeah, I'm okay, James, thank you. Been a bit of a sunny day, hasn't it, here, and we're sort of, doubling down into August now, but the football, the Brasileirão keeps going, doesn't it? So, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, like you said, it is getting into August. The Premier League is kicking off in just 2 weeks' time. But our focus will stay on the Serie A for the time being. So, when the Premier League gets underway as well, no doubt, we'll be keeping on top of things, George. But yeah, I'm all right. Like you said, bit sunny. I've been for a haircut, walked down in the sun, maybe just got a bit of a heat stroke or something.
Well, it's not that warm, is it? It's not Brazil, but of course. A few weeks ago, I had a haircut. Now it's your turn, isn't it? So
that's it, absolutely. Anyway, lots to discuss today, George. Full round of fixtures for us to get into. There were no there were no extra games, were there, since we last spoke? It was just the one round of fixtures. Yeah. Before we get into them, have you got a quiz of the week, or should we do the fixtures first? No, let's do the quiz first.
I have a quiz, James. It's a very straightforward one this week for you, James. But what I want to know, with the sort of recent managerial changes, of course, we don't have a jingle now for the quiz of the week. We might get one sorted. But with the recent managerial changes, I want to know how many non-Brazilian managers there are now in Serie A. Sorry, I want to know the teams. So I'll give you how many there are. There's 15 Brazilian coaches currently in Serie A. So there's 5 who are not. Can you, for me, name the 5 that have other, countrymen managing their clubs?
Cruzeiro, certainly one. Sport Recife.
Nope.
No. Sao Paulo. One. Yeah. No, I don't. Palmeiras, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 3, isn't it? Fogo, of course, with Davide Ancelotti. Fortaleza.
Yep, Paiva. That's your 5.
There you go.
Nice one. Well done.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's was a good quiz, that, George. Well done. Like you said, we might have a jingle to play us out next time. That would be handy, wouldn't it? But absolutely. In the meantime, on with the show. Let's have a rundown then, George, of match day 17 in the Brasileirão.
Yeah, it would be my pleasure, James, to do that for everybody. So it started on Saturday, the 26th of July. Fogo 1, Corinthians 1. Fortaleza 3, RB Bragantino 1. Mirassol 1, Vitória 1. Sport Recife 2, Santos 2. Into Sunday, July the 27th, Palmeiras 1, Grêmio 0. Cruzeiro 1, Ceará 2. Sao Paulo 3, Fluminense 1. Bahia 3, Juve 0. Inter 1, Vasco 1. And into Monday the 28th of July, James, Flamengo 1, Galo 0. There was an extra game on Wednesday the 30th of July, which was a catch-up game. Grêmio beat Fortaleza 2-1. Martin Braithwaite scored a brace of penalties.
Yeah, good couple of results actually, no, they lost the other day, didn't they? But nice to see Braithwaite back in the goals. He hasn't really kicked on from what was a pretty decent start to life in Brazil. So yeah, George, let's get straight into it. We had a couple of interesting games of the round, which was I forgot what you were doing. Actually, you were doing
Sao
Flamengo,
Paulo.
weren't you? What? Huh?
Sao Paulo and Fluminense, yeah.
Sao Paulo Fluminense, sorry, yeah. So not a 0-0 for you this time. Sao Paulo continue to go pretty well, to be fair, under Hernan Crespo. 3 wins on the bounce now, George, for them. Flu, 3 losses on the bounce, I think it is now. They haven't come back from the Club World Cup in any kind of form, although they did beat Inter in the Cup, I think, the other day. So what was your take home from this game?
Yeah, like you say, James, Fluminense beat Inter in the cup, but yeah, you're right. They haven't won a game since the Club World Cup. They've lost all 4 of the league matches since coming back from America. They're not in a good way at all. Renato Gaucho's got to just watch out a little bit. You know, they've really slipped down the table. They're into 12th at the moment, 5 points above the relegation zone currently. But they do have a game in hand on Santos, who currently hold the final relegation position at the moment. But this game's more about Sao Paulo, James. They flew away really in this match. They were really, really good. They're on it from the first minute. And, and ultimately, Fluminense couldn't really live with them. And you're right, Hernan Crespo is, 5 games now. He's won 3. He's drawn 1 and lost 1. They're unbeaten now in 4 games. And, they've risen up to 8th in the table. They're looking a lot healthier than when he took over. And you've got to say, he is doing wonders at the moment for them. And, some nice goals in there as well. That the centre-back, Boulder, he set them on the way with a lovely towering header. And then it got better and better. Ferreira got one in the second half. And Fluminense came back with a goal. Xavier got one back. It was a bit of a nice finish. And then the Chilean fella, Tapia, he finished off proceedings for Sao Paulo and got the third. In between that, our man Luciano Neves, he did miss a penalty. The old-timer, of course, Fabio, 44-year-old in the goal, saved it, but it didn't stop Sao Paulo winning this one. They do look good, Sao Paulo now, I must admit, James. Maybe a little bit of a dark horse to get up the table now. I know didn't really have them down for relegation anyway. But Hernan Crespo looks like he's sort of, really given them that lease of life, which they were lacking.
Yeah, it just goes to show, doesn't it? You make the change and it can have a real impact. And a few wins on the bounce, and all of a sudden you are really looking up the table, because Sao Paulo were just hovering kind of just above the relegation zone. They might have even just slipped into it when Hernan Crespo was appointed. So, yeah, they've really shot up. It shouldn't be a surprise to see them up there. Really, they've got a good group there. They did okay last season in the end, and they shouldn't be languishing down near where they were. So more like it from Sao Paulo for sure. As for Flu, George, they did win in the cup, like you said, and that'll really have helped Ronaldo Gaucho, because obviously it doesn't put them through. That was just the first leg of that cup game against Inter, but he didn't need that, because you feel like a poor result there, and he might have just been one loss away, or that might have even tipped him over the edge. He's got a game against his former team, Gremio, next time out. And yeah, that's quite crucial, really. Gremio are level on points with them, can obviously leapfrog them with a win. So that's a really crucial game for him.
Oh, it's massive, James. Now, like you said, the 4 games lost in a row in the league. I know they did win against Inter in the Cup. Everaldo, who came in the summer, didn't he? Or in the winter, sorry, from Bahia. He got a brace in that game. But yeah, it's crunch time now for Renato Gaucho. Really needs to see a result, because five defeats in a row, then people are going to start talking, aren't they? Again, after what happened last season at this stage as well. I know they pulled themselves up eventually, didn't they? But last season, if you remember, they were right in the doldrums sort of this time, around this time last season. and you don't want to see a repeat of that if you, from their point of view, you want to win there and really get themselves on the way. I think Gremio, it's a crunch match, is that one actually, James, because they're right down there as well, not doing especially well. I know they won the other day. It was really needed for them actually pull themselves sort of further away from the relegation zone, but they're not too far away either. So it's a bit of a last chance saloon for me for Renato Gaucho. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, Fortaleza would have actually gone ahead of Gremio if they'd have beaten them in that one. Yeah, I think Renato probably does need to be careful. The writing might well be on the wall for him, even if they do win that. They might already be looking kind of for a replacement. Like you said, they will be wary that last year, obviously, Mano kept them up, but they they know they're not immune to that relegation kind of scrap, so they're not far off it now. And they were looking, to be fair, good for a top 4 finish. So I mean, obviously, very long way to go, but the kind of form they're in and the way they'd started, they looked like that's where they were going to be this season. So 4 losses in a row really puts that into a new perspective. And yeah, I think he might well be on a bit of borrowed time already, to be fair, Renato. Anything else you wanted to pick out from that game, George, before we move on to the other game?
Not really, James. It's worth noting as well, coincidentally, Mano is coming up against his former team as well in that one, isn't he? Sort of they swap positions, did those two guys. But no, I mean, ultimately, take home is Sao Paulo really starting to motor now under Hernan Crespo. It's really good to see. From my point of view, I'm a fan of Crespo. I want to see him doing well. And Sao Paulo is a really, well-established and historical club in Brazil. Obviously, we need them to do well. So they're doing a lot better, and it's good to see.
Yeah, Inter up for them next, and that's those two are quite close together in the table at the minute, so another close one, no doubt. Right, thank you, George. Let's move along then to my game of the week, which was Mirassol against Vitória, two teams who are having quite different seasons, really. Two teams we haven't seemed to touch on an awful lot, especially Mirassol. And like I said last week, I think Mirassol just deserve a little bit more love than we've probably given them. And this was another decent result, really, but it was a 1-1 draw, sorry, and it probably says a lot about Mirassol's season that they might be just slightly disappointed that they didn't get the win in this one. They were leading very early on, a 6-minute goal. And then they couldn't. I mean, from there they were probably thinking, "Here we go, another kind of 3 points on the board." Vitória struggling a little bit, but Vitória hit back pretty quickly. To be fair, Baralhas after just 13 minutes, and that was how it ended. A very, very even game, really. Ball possession almost right bang in the middle. Expected goals very, very close together. Both teams had 15 shots. Basically nothing to choose between them. And in the end, though, Mirassol probably would have fancied a win. I think it's another point gained. It continues their remarkable kind of unbeaten run and keeps them up in that top 7. So I think from that point of view, a good result for them. I think from Vitória's point of view, I was reading that they've actually drawn more games than any other team this year in the Brasileirão Vitória. So it's not that they've been perhaps terrible, but they just haven't been able to get wins, turn draws into wins, basically. And they've actually equaled the amount of draws for the whole of the 2024 season already after just, I think they've only played 15, after 17 games, sorry. So 8 draws in 17 games. Again, you'd like to be winning them, but I still think for a club like Vitória not to be losing those, I think that still is positive. You're not losing games, you're putting up a good fight, and you're drawing against teams who are usually bigger than themselves. I think they they're moving in perhaps the right direction. The last 2 games against Sport Recife and Mirassol, they probably would have liked to have won, just in that those are teams that, regardless of Mirassol's good start, you'd imagine that they will drop at some point. And Sport Recife, as we know, are going to go down. They've got Palmeiras next, so the games don't get easier, and there would have been 2 games that they'd have looked at and thought we maybe could have got more than 2 points out of it. But yeah, the story is Mirassol, really. I mean, Guanayas is doing a fantastic job there, and I think when we look at the manager of the month next week, I think he's probably going to be featuring very high up, especially because Leo Hardim's Cruzeiro got a really poor result this weekend. So Yeah, all in all, positive for Mirassol. I don't know how you see both of these two teams at the minute.
Well, I've named this episode James Magic Mirassol, so I think that says it all. Really, I think they are just magic at the moment. I mean, it's an inspiration to any team in any league really coming up to the top division for the very, very first time. We've got to remember this. It's unbelievable. I mean, 8 games unbeaten since early May against Corinthians, which is absolutely. It's fantastic, isn't it, when you look at it? Any point is a point gained. And like you said, it speaks volumes of their season so far. That they probably were a little bit disappointed, to only draw that game. Carioca, who got the goal, it was a lovely finish in the end, and it would be disappointed to be pegged back. But like I said, any point is a good point at this. In this league, when you're coming up for the first time, and to be sitting 7th in the league at this stage, it's something they would never have dreamed about, really. So hats off to Guinenes. I do think he will be manager of the month. To be honest with you, next week, James. I think like you said, we'll discuss it, but. I think we do have to give him a little bit more love than we have done, because the job that he's done is nothing short of remarkable, really, at this stage.
Yeah, Carioca's been a good player for them. 3 goals, 2 assists. That's a decent start. Obviously, Ronaldo at left back has been the real kind of hero for them so far. The veteran, he's been an absolutely fantastic addition. So yeah, they've done incredibly well. And like I said, you do still have the feeling that at some point they will start losing, and they might have a little bit of free fall at some stage. But they've got the points on the board already that should still see them okay. So yeah, amazing to see what they're doing there. Vittoria, I was just having a look actually to see how Alejandro's doing, because obviously he was the man who really kind of fired them to safety last year. He's actually got 0 goals in 11 appearances so far, George, for CSKA Moscow. So, it's not always greener, is it, when these players go to Europe, and it rushes a bit of a backwater at the minute for football, and he's not taking off there. So it might not be too long before we see him back in Brazil.
Yeah, potentially, James. Like we said at the time, a bit of Russia for a few of the guys going there from Brazil was a little bit of an odd choice in the end. Really looks like it is for Alejandro, because he fired them up the table, fired them into the Sudamericana, really, didn't he? In the end, and they are obviously missing his presence. Only 14 goals off their games so far, of their 17 games so far. That's not really good enough, to be honest. They're amongst some of the lowest scorers in the league, and they really do need to do better. Obviously, Carpini now sacked, and you've got to say Kirill hasn't done much better, to be honest.
No, not so far. But like I said, turn a few of those draws into wins, and things will be looking better. So we'll see how they do moving forward. Right, George, let's move things along. Let's get into the player of the round.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Getting used to that new tune. A really good one. A couple of candidates on this one, George. A couple of players who got braces, well worth mentioning, and well worth mentioning Bahia, because they are on an absolute roll at the minute, and helping them on that roll was Jean Lucas, who hit a double against Juventude. Comfortable win for Bahia, 3-0. And a brace for Jean Lucas.
Yeah, I'm just looking at six undefeated now in Serie A. Bahia doing absolutely amazingly, like you said, into 4th position, looking very much like candidates for Libertadores qualification at the end of the season. Let's wait and see. Long way to go. But, I'm a fan of Rogério Ceni, and he's doing his magic again with Bahia. But, big result again. Juventude really down in the mud, aren't they, at the moment? They can't seem to get out of it. But, Lucas, he a couple of nice goals. First one was a nice sort of finish, quick finish, and the second one again was a sort of you had to think quickly. The ball came to him quickly, and he sort of volleyed it in. So that was good couple of goals, great result. Rodriguez added to it. No longer part of our Young Player of the Round award candidates because he has just recently turned 22, but he finished off the scoring in the 93rd minute, and that by that point Juventude were well and truly done. But yeah, massive result again for Bahia. They're really, really doing well, James. It's really good to see.
Yeah, they really are. We didn't perhaps foresee that they would do quite so well. It felt like last season, towards the end of the year, they kind of dipped off quite a lot. Didn't seem as though they'd maybe have it in them. I know there was a few murmurings about Shenny, but he's turned it around and he's really got them up that table now. So well done to them. Juventude really staring down the abyss at the moment. But it wasn't enough for Jean Lucas to win our Player of the Round this week because there was a fantastic performance in Belo Horizonte, George, and it was not, as we've become accustomed to this season, from a Cruzeiro player. It was, in fact, from Cearás Antonio Galeano, the Paraguayan forward, and he hit two, which downed Cruzeiro 2-1, and well worthy of our Player of the Round winner this week.
Oh, absolutely, it was, James. And he's doing well. 4 goals. He doubled his tally for the season with that brace. And yeah, obviously he's a new signing. Really, he's only on loan from Nacional in Uruguay. Like you said, Paraguayan, uncapped at first team level for his country, but he's just on loan for the season. But yeah, 9 goals in all so far, 4 in the Brazil round now, and yeah, fantastic. Both headed goals, past Casio in the net, which is quite a hard man to beat. Quite a big fella, isn't he, in the goal there? But yeah, beat him. First goal was from a corner, towering header again, and then the second one, really like the second goal. One of these, crossing from the left-hand side, and he kind of diving headed it back the way it came into the opposite corner, and in for 2-1. They had to come from behind, did Ceará in this one, James. Cruzeiro, we know who scores the goals. It's that man, Caio Jorge, and he did again. This time, a 4th-minute goal, slip up by the defenders. And he got in and stole in and put the ball in the net in the 4th minute. But Ceará came back, and they came back strong. And and they take the win. And it isn't often this season we're saying that Cruzeiro are on the end of a defeat, but it certainly happened this time. And let's wait and see how they bounce back. They're playing Fogo on Sunday evening, so that'll be an interesting one. But brilliant win for Ceará. They kind of needed it, I think, because they were kind of slipping a little bit, weren't they, towards kind of doom, really. Three defeats in a row. But this one will give them the confidence again to say, hey, actually, we can do it in this league.
Yeah, I think they must have feared the worst a little bit when Caio Jorge scored after 4 minutes. Cruzeiro have been a bit relentless in recent weeks, and when he scores, he tends to get another one as well. So they must have feared the worst, but you've really got to give them credit for the way they bounced back in that game. And it wasn't immediate like we saw in the Vitoria game. They equalised kind of 5 minutes before half time, so they had to hold out. And to be fair, looking at the kind of stats, it was a very one-way kind of game as well. Cruzeiro seemed like they pretty much dominated, but Ceará held firm, stuck it out, like you said, got that kind of sucker punch equaliser, came into the second half, rode out the first 15 minutes, got the goal on the hour, and then saw it through. And must have been a very, very frustrating game for Leo Jardim, and like you said, George, not used to losing. And the expectations at Cruzeiro will have very, very quickly kind of realigned with that kind of feeling of they're going to win every game. And as we know in the Brazil around thing, teams do tend to slip up. There tends to be a low kind of points tally that wins this league. And so Cruzeiro, you can lose. You can lose games. That's going to happen. But to lose this one will have really kind of hurt them, I think. It does leave them 2 points behind Flamengo, having played a game more. 2 points ahead of Palmeiras, having played 2 more. You don't like to say that that's it for them because it definitely isn't, but they've put themselves in a bit of a difficult position with that, haven't they?
They have, James. At home, they'd have expected to win as well. And I think, it will be a real frustration for them, actually, to lose that one. It was their first loss at home actually in the league so far. So that's an even better result for Ceará to come back from one down to win it. But yeah, they'll be frustrated, but they won't let it damage them too much. 17 games in, they're in a great position. They don't expect to win the league. Surely again, Lib qualification would be probably a success, wouldn't it? Surely in the top four, and they've got to get back onto it again. Like I said, against Fogo on Sunday. There's no respite. You just got to brush it off and go again. That's all you can do. And I'm sure the likes of Caio Jorge and his band of merry men won't be put off by the fact they didn't win that game. They'll just go again. I mean, he's in absolute hot form, isn't he? 13 goals. It's quite an incredible season so far, but wasn't to be this time. But doesn't say it. They did draw actually as well in the Copa do Brazil against CRB, who are a second division side, mid-table in the second division at the moment. That was a home game as well on Wednesday evening. So is it a little bit of a stinking run coming up? I don't know, but they'll hope to put an end to that with a win against Fogo in Rio on Sunday.
Yeah, maybe just a slight wobble, but maybe it's a reversion to the mean a little bit. We didn't have them down as kind of, title challengers really. So maybe they're just having that kind of reversion to where they really should be. But big one that in Fogo for sure. They can't really afford to drop any more points, but I have a feeling they might do anyway. But anyway, that was not to be their day. It was the day of Antonio Galliano and of Ceará. So well done to him, well done to them. They march up to 9th in the table and looking very healthy as well. We talk about Mirassol, but Leo Conde is doing a super job at Ceará as well. And they did drop off a little, but they, they're very, very solid. They should be very happy with the job that they have done so far this season. And of course, their city rivals, Fortaleza, are struggling. So what a season for them so far, the Ceará fans. Anyway, George, let's keep things moving. Well done to Antonio Galliano, and let's crown another award winner this week. Let's have a look at who wins the young player of the round.
Okay, James. Oh, that's the goal one.
Oh my goodness.
How far can he go? It's the young player of the
Yeah, another good one, that one, isn't it, James? There.
Oh, kind of like a reggaeton type feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool, yeah.
Very, very much on the playlist. There was a couple more candidates on this one as well, weren't there? Actually, George, a couple of young goal scorers. You mentioned already Luciano Rodriguez, who listeners will know is a favourite of ours. But yeah, he's too old now for this award, so he wasn't in consideration. But there were a few who were. I think it's worth just talking about Gabriel Bontempo for Santos, just because that was a crazy game, George. Bontempo just 20, he got a consolation kind of goal, really. Santos were 2-0 down at the time against Sport Recife, who, remember, are still yet to win in this year's Brasileirão. 11 minutes to go, Sport Recife 2-0 up. Up pops Gabriel Bontempo, and down to 10 men, actually, Santos as well. So playing 10 men, 2 goals up, 10 minutes left. Surely they can't mess that one up. Well, they could, George. And Gabriel Bontempo was the man who started it, or the boy who started it, really.
Yeah, that was it, James. You just think, wow, maybe they've just forgotten what it was like to be 2 goals up Sport, because it doesn't often happen, certainly not this season anyway. So, yeah, they probably thought, what on earth is going on here? Aren't we supposed to lose every single game? But, it didn't work out like that. But they did end up, reverting back to the norm in a way and letting in those couple of goals. And Bontempo was like you said, the boy to get them on the way to Santos, on the way to a draw. Obviously, like you said, they had gone down to 10 men. Thomas Recon had received his match notice. I think it did go to VAR this one, but the referee did see fit to send him off. And then they just went 2 down, and then Bontempo. It was a lovely little finish, chip over the goalkeeper, nice little dink chip, not a big one. It was just a nice little dink, a 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. Gabriel. But yeah, he set them on the way. Good point in the end for Santos, having been down to 10 men for the most of it, of course. But yeah, he didn't quite win it. He was just pipped because the team that the man who won it, his team did win on the weekend.
Yep, there was another candidate as well whose team didn't win. That was Ryan, who had a really good start on the Fernando Diniz and hasn't really kind of continued it, but did get a goal in a 1-1 draw against Inter. Inter with a very late equaliser there after Vasco had gone down to 10 men. But yeah, Ryan was on the score sheet as well. Still only 18, Ryan. So he's a very, very young player still. And you forget that sometimes when you're talking about these players and big expectations and how they're maybe not quite living up to the what fans are hoping for them. But he is still very, very young, Ryan, and that's another goal for him. I think he's got 7 now in all competitions this season. It's not a bad tally. Still a long way to go. So I think, he's worth a mention as well. But again, he did not take the crown this time because, why don't you tell us who did, George? And it was a big win, this one.
It was, yeah, just on Ryan, James. It was a lovely finish, actually. Breakaway goal for Vasco. It is his birthday on Sunday, actually, James. He turns 19 on the 3rd of August, so happy birthday to him. But yeah, it was the man from Fortaleza who won our Young Player of the Round award this week. Fantastic result, like you said, for them, much needed. And it is the man by the name of Luca Prior, who it was his first goal, I think, in Serie A, this one, James. So very, very, I mean, you could see he was absolutely delighted. It was a lovely finish as well. He took advantage of the goalkeeper making a little bit of a hash of it. Lucao made a real mess of a clearance, and he spotted him out of his net. Did a nice little chip again. Chips are on the menu tonight, it seems, James. And this was another nice one, actually. Quite a long ranger instead of Bontempo's, short, close range finish. This was a long range, more of a chip, looping finish. And yeah, lovely. It meant the world to him. Clearly, came from Paranense, who incidentally I don't think are doing very well in Serie B just now, James. But he came from them and first goal. So congratulations to him. 21 years of age. Luca Prior is our winner this week.
Yeah, it was a big win, like you said. Davison was on the score sheet there as well, on the other end of the age scale, and Pitter as well, whose birthday is, of course, coming up as well, George. He got on the score sheet as well, although it wasn't to be another bad result for RBB, who have kind of slipped down the table a bit and do no longer look like title challengers. But yeah, a much needed win for Fortaleza. Piver, I think, was a smart appointment for them, really. I think he'd done okay at Fogo and he was showing signs of life. And I think he deserves a bit more of a go, really. And I think Fortaleza might not give him that, but he's doing okay for now. They did lose against Gremio, as you pointed out before, in the cup in midweek. But the staying in the
game, wasn't it?
Oh, sorry, it was, of course, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, staying in the league needs to be their bread and butter, and they do need to obviously start picking up more points. But a much needed 3 points, and it keeps them in contention. Really, they're only 1 point off safety at the minute, so they're well and truly in there. I expect that they will climb out of it. Young players like Pryor mixed with kind of experience like Davison. There's no reason that they can't, really. So Pryor, one to look out for. It was only his second start in Serie A, so 2 starts, 1 goal. That's a decent record in anybody's book. So, we'll see if he can kick on now and become more of a fixture in the team. But yeah, a good week for the young players in Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely, James. There's a few to pick from, like you said there. So, yeah, it was massive win for Fortaleza. And RB, you mentioned Peter. It was a lovely finish, to be fair. Beat his man down the left-hand side and squeezed the ball into the net. But it wasn't to be for him, wasn't going to be for RB this time, 3 defeats in a row. But I think Fortaleza were more needed of the points this time, and they did just do that. So, unfortunately, obviously, from their point of view, they did lose against Gremio on Wednesday, but hopefully from their point of view, back to winning ways on Sunday against Corinthians in Sao Paulo. Let's wait and see how that goes.
Yep, indeed. Well done to Luca Pryor, and the others who got on the score sheet there as well. Right, George, let's carry on. Let's look at the goal of the round then.
Go, go, for go. Jogo bom Brazilian football at its best.
Yeah, they're all kind of chillers, these ones, aren't they?
Yeah, they've done a good job, the Talking Brazil Ball Band this time, haven't they, with those? So, yeah, that's a cool little tune again to introduce the goal of the round, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and this was a goal from a player who's probably not quite done as well as he maybe had been expected to, having joined the league this summer. And well, for a team who perhaps haven't been doing quite as well as we maybe expected them to, George, and that is Facundo Torres of Palmeiras, a Uruguayan international, came in from Orlando this summer with quite a big reputation, really. He's somewhat of a replacement for Estevão Willian in some ways, a winger. As we know, Estevão's gone now to Chelsea, so they need a few more goals. This was only his 4th goal so far, which isn't a great tally in the Brasileirão anyway. So, but yeah, he's come up with a nice one this week.
Yeah, it was a lovely goal, actually, James. I don't know if you got a chance to see it at all, but there was a couple of odd, goals that could have won it. Depay got one. Incidentally, there was a feisty one in Sao Paulo, of course, in the Cup. Depay got the winner over Palmeiras last night, I think it was, James. We know that's a feisty affair when those two clash. He got that one, but he didn't win the goal of the round this time. It was a lovely finish against Fogo from him. Other than that, there were one or two other ones, but this one took it home for me. It was ball in from the right-hand side, got cut back from the left, laid off to Torres, who inside the box, left-footed, just curled, opened his body up and curled the ball in the top corner. Lovely sort of postage stamp goal. And that one wins it for me. It was fantastic. Like you said, probably hasn't lived up quite to expectations just yet. But neither have Palmeiras as a whole. As they're a little bit of a slow burner this season. And I think we both predicted them to have a little bit of a poor season. It's turning out to be that way. Although you did point out rightly so last week as well, when Vitor Roque won the Young Player of the Round award, that they do seem to have games in hand always, and they do seem to claw it back somehow very quickly. They do have 2 games in hand, like we mentioned earlier, on Cruzeiro in second. They have a game in hand on first place Flamengo as well. Games in hand are totting up for them. But the winning games of football now, apart from that Copa do Brazil game last night, they've won 3 in a row in Serie A, unbeaten in 4 games so far since defeat against Cruzeiro on the 1st of June.
Yeah, 3 of the next 4, Vitória, Ceará and Sport Recife, as well as a trip to Fogo. So the games are looking quite kind for them, really. They've got only 1 game in hand on the leaders, Flamengo, but the 4 points behind them. So win that, they're a point behind, and that's a good place to be with kind of 16 games gone. So yeah, they do always seem to find a way just to be in and around the mix, and I expect them to be once all is said and done this season, and they're already showing that now. They are finding ways. I think Torres is a really good player, and I think maybe he's just taking a little bit to find his feet, and I think they are rearranging things. Obviously, Estevão was such a big player for them. I think they are just trying to find a way to reshape that attack, and Roque, obviously, his kind of poor form hasn't really helped them in that regard as well. So I do think once they click, they'll probably be a little bit better. It's never easy to bring in a number of players in the same position, new players all at the same time. So I think they'll be better. And I think as long as they can hang around in that kind of position in the meantime, then I think they'll be okay. As for Grêmio, of course, it was, we've already touched on what they went on to do, George, they did bounce back as well. So I think you mentioned before Mano going back to his former team. I think we speak about Renato Gaucho being in a bit of trouble. I think Mano needs to just watch himself as well. Gremio, obviously a very big club, and don't seem to be able to get out of this kind of malaise of being in and around the bottom half.
No, they don't, James. And you look at the squad. To be fair, you look at the squad, and it's not that great, really, looking at it. And I don't actually know they've got Vinicius. I don't know when he signed actually from Fulham, but he's just signed, I think. So that's a decent, maybe a little decent pickup, isn't it? But yeah, last week I think he signed. So yeah, see if he can do anything and help Braithwaite out in terms of the goal scoring sort of. They need goal scorers, don't they, really? Only 16 goals scored all season. Braithwaite is the top scorer with 6 goals. The next one to him is Christian Oliveira on 2 goals. So that just says it all. And Braithwaite scored 2 on Wednesday. So, they're not scoring a great deal of goals. A massive result for them, wasn't it, though, to beat Fortaleza there. And like I said, Mano does just need to watch himself. Gremio, I completely agree with you, James. Don't seem to be able to pick up in any sort of way. And they've got to really watch themselves. Like we said, it's a big game with Fluminense on Sunday, because if they lose that one, then things are really going to start to slip for them, isn't it?
I think they've also just signed Fabian Balbuena as well, who I remember from West Ham, centre-back. I think it looks like he's just kind of come in as well, very recently anyway. He's not played for them just yet. A Paraguayan international, former Corinthians, was at West Ham for a couple of years. So he might help them kind of in terms of being a bit more solid at the back. So maybe 1 or 2 new additions there might just help them to kind of pull themselves up a bit. But yeah, not looking brilliant again. Another kind of season of treading water, it looks like, for the time being. But yeah, back to winning ways anyway. In since they lost this game. But yeah, well done to Facundo Torres, well worthy a winner of the goal of the round as well, and we'll have a look at that. It'll be entered into next week's goal of the month competition, George, as well. So
yes, which will be a very short-lived one, James. I think there's only two to go from.
Well, he's got a good chance then, hasn't he?
He definitely has. I think he's going to win it, to be fair.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. Okay, well, let's look ahead then, George. That was all the awards wrapped up. Another busy week. Let's look ahead at what's to come and pick our games of the round for next week.
Yeah, absolutely we should, James. So I will give a rundown of the fixtures just now. So it begins round 18 on Saturday the 2nd of August, 8 p.m. English time is Sport Recife against Bahia. 10:30 is Mirassol against Vasco. Sunday, August the 3rd, then 1 a.m. English time, Fluminense hosts Gremio in that one we spoke about. 8 p.m. Fogo against Cruzeiro, Corinthians against Fortaleza, and then 10:30 is Galo against RB Bragantino, Ceará against Flamengo, and Vitória host Palmeiras. Into Monday, 4th of August, 12:30 midnight kickoff. Here is Inter against Sao Paulo, and then rounding up match day 18 is Tuesday at midnight kickoff in the UK. Santos host Juventude in a real sort of basement battle there, James.
Both teams need points in that one. Juventude arguably more than Santos. But what's catching your eye there, George? I think looking at them briefly, there doesn't seem to be anything that's really kind of jumping out massively.
No, you know what, James? I'm going to go with that one there. The basement battle, Santos against Juventude. I think folks on the bottom of the league, I'm going to go with that one. Like you said, other than 1 or 2 others, none of them really jump off the page. I mean, maybe Flu Gremio, which we've just spoke about, another kind of basement-esque battle where 2 teams really need points, 2 managers coming up against the former sides. Could be the end of the road for one of them if they lose. So that one caught my eye a little bit, but I'm going to go with Santos against Juve. Santos is always well worth it with the Neymar aspect, and Juve really do need points, like you said, badly. the manager there, Claudio Tencati, like I've said before, I don't think he's really Brasileirão quality, but he needs to step up and win a few games. He really does need his team to show up. 7 games he's had, only 1 win, 5 defeats. Something's got to give there. So I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, Santos probably got, they would have liked to have been sport, but to come back as late as they did probably might give them a lift going into that, and they'll fancy the chances against Juve. And you have to say, really, Juve don't get a win in that. You'd have to class them almost in the same kind of class as sport, really, because they're just sinking, really, and it's a shame because we enjoyed them last year. They put up a good fight. They were good value, really, at times, but it just hasn't happened for them this season. So I don't know what Jean Carlos is doing. He doesn't seem to have really kind of appeared at all for quite some time. Oh, he's actually left. You know what? He's headed to Poland as Jean Carlos. Oh no, sorry, that's a different Jean Carlos. So where's Jean Carlos then?
I'm not sure, James. I think he's still there, actually, to be honest. Oh no, I don't think he is. You know what? We'll have to see, but he's definitely not there, to be fair.
Well, where is Jean Carlos? That's the question.
Never mind. Where's Wally? We need to find Jean Carlos, don't we?
Well, the rest of the team have sorted that. They're all Wallies, I think. I don't know where.
They really are. Bill's still there. He got a few awards, didn't he? Last season. I think he got the first of this season, actually, potentially.
Bill went a whole year without scoring one time.
So I think
maybe similar now.
We'll always, like Juventude, James, because of that as well. He did win the first, I think, player of that round, didn't he, Jean Carlos? And he's always kind of I think we enjoy the blue, the green and white as well of Juventude, but yeah, they really do need to pull the socks up because they're really, really slipping down the table. But what about you, James? What are you going to go for?
I think I'm going to go for Fogo against Cruzeiro, just for the fact I think we haven't looked at either of them. We did look at Cruzeiro today, to be fair, but I feel it's the champions against a pretender. Obviously, Fogo not playing particularly like champions, but are in decent kind of form. And I think if Fogo can win this, that will really signal. They've got 2 games in hand on Cruzeiro, and they're 8 points behind them. So, maybe quietly having an okay season, Fogo. That's why I feel that the sacking of Paiva was a bit harsh. So I think if they can win, that might signal that they might be pushing on towards the top of the table. I think Cruzeiro, it's a test for them now. How do they bounce back to that loss and the poor result in the cup as well? Can they kind of bounce back against a decent Fogo team, really? So I think that there's plenty of interest around that, and I think that's for that reason I'm going to go for that. And 2 of those managers, as you mentioned at the top there, George, 2 of those foreign coaches in the Brasileirão meeting in Fogo. So that's my pick.
Yeah, that's fair enough, James. And it's like I said a few weeks ago. The acquisition of Arthur Cabral seems to have helped Fogo a lot. He scored again on the weekend against Corinthians, and that's 2 goals in 4 games now. So he's doing all right so far. And they look like maybe they're just starting to get a little bit of form together. They won again in the cup against Bragantino last night, also Tuesday night it was. So they're on a little bit of good form, 3, 4, 5 unbeaten in all competitions since the defeat in the Club World Cup in America. So they've come back and done okay. So obviously Ancelotti there, he's started okay as well. So that should be a decent game, actually.
Yeah, it should be. I'll keep an eye on that for next week and see if it lives up to billing. Right, George. Let's take a look at the table then before we leave.
Yeah, no problem, James. It would be my pleasure. So top of the tree is Flamengo on 36. Second is Cruzeiro on 34. Third, Palmeiras on 32. Fourth, Bahia on 28. Fifth is RB Bragantino on 27. Sixth, Fogo on 26. Seventh is Mirassol on 25. Eighth is Sao Paulo on 22. Ninth is Ceará on 21. Inter in 10th on 21, 11th is Corinthians on 21, 12th is Fluminense on 20, 13th is Galo on 20, 14th Grêmio also on 20 points, 15th for Vittoria on 17, 16th Vasco on 15. Into the relegation zone then, James, 17th position is Santos on 15 points. 18th is Fortaleza on 14. 19th is Juventude on 11. And propping up the table, as always, James, with a couple of 2-2 draws in a row and a couple of points acquired in a row, Sport Recife, bottom of the pile, 20th position, are on 5 points.
Yeah, that's how it looks. It's all changing week to week, apart from that bottom spot, who just haven't moved, I don't think, ever since the first flipping week. But if they can just come 19th, it'll be a massive win for them at this point. But it's a shame what's gone on there. But anyway, what can we do? Maybe they'll do better next week.
Well, at least they're getting a couple of points, James. Like I said, a couple of 2-2 draws. I know they haven't won for, they haven't won a game yet, have they? So it's not looking good. I haven't actually had a look, who, for all we know, just now, I don't think we've had a look at the sort of news so far. For all we know, the manager there, Mr. Daniel Paulista, he might have gone, but I think he's still there as of recording. I think none of more sackings have happened just yet. So everybody's still there just now. So we'll wait and see if that happens. Still is the case next week.
Well, yeah, it'd be a bit harsh if they sacked him after 2 draws, having lost, a load of the previous ones. But I don't think he's going anywhere for now, anyway. Right then, we'll see where we stand next week. Maybe there has been an update. Maybe he's gone. Maybe they lose by 6 and he goes. But we'll leave that for next week's to worry about. Well, thank you everybody for listening. It's been another good update, good, and a lot to get into. Enjoy the week's football, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, see you next week, everybody. Enjoy the week. Have a good one. And a deuce.
A deuce.
Talking Brazil ball, we're breaking it down. Bringing the passion from every town. Let the world be filled with love tonight. Sway to the beat, make you feel so right.